Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 20th episode of Big Ten Under 10 on the Hoosier Network. I'm Adam Oppenheim with, of course, Graham Nash, and we are excited to bring you more updates from the Big Ten. Starting on the court with basketball before going through two other sports, including a sport we have yet to cover in women's sports. Over to women's basketball we go. The Big Ten hasn't been super strong in recent weeks on the hardwood, with now just 5 Big Ten teams in the top 25. Number 1 UCLA moves to 21-0 on the season with an easy 79-53 win over Minnesota. The 7th-ranked USC Trojans also won against the Golden Gophers. This time it was 82-69. But they suffered just their second loss of the season as Iowa won in Iowa City 76-69. 8th-ranked Ohio State still has just one loss on the season after winning 66-56 over Washington. The number 16th-ranked Maryland Terrapins claim victory on the road against Penn State 82-73, but the Illini storm into College Park and pull out a 66-65 victory. Lastly, number 20 Michigan State dropped a game at home versus Oregon 63-59. The Spartans did bounce back versus the Wildcats, winning 89-75. Graham, we've seen it for a while. UCLA and USC just cruising through their schedule. Now there's finally a slip-up. USC loses to Iowa. How'd the Hawkeyes get it done?
Carver Hawkeye Arena was bumping. That place was so electric, partially because Caitlin Clark got her jersey retired during that ball game. I believe it was afterwards when she got her jersey retired. So the energy in there was phenomenal. And also, the Hawkeyes just play so well there. They're 125-19 in Iowa dating back to November of 2016, well before Caitlin Clark even got there. So you talk about home floor advantage. There's no case truer than Iowa City. That place is phenomenal for the Hawkeyes. But on top of that, the start that Iowa had was huge for their momentum. USC only scored 4 points in the first quarter, shooting 7% from the field.
I would venture to say that's their season low for a quarter.
Yeah, I mean, pretty safe to say probably with players like Juju Watkins and Iriafen. That just doesn't really happen. And then the defense didn't really stop. Juju didn't really get into the game. She was 8 for 22 from the floor. So USC had to look to their other pieces. Now, because they have so many good pieces, they were able to get back into it and create a lead. But in the fourth quarter, Iowa just got to their spots. That was really the key for them at the end of the game. They shot 64% from the floor in the fourth quarter, took high percentage shots, and they won that ball game. A huge win for them.
Yeah, massive win for Iowa. I want to go over to another Big Ten team, Michigan State. They've been hanging around the top 25, just inside now, but they've been outside for a little bit of the season. How have they been able to win some of these key road games on the season?
Yeah, Michigan State is interesting. They've beaten the teams that they've needed to, but have also lost some important games. So they lost to 3 unranked opponents and a top 10 Maryland team, but then they beat their cross-state rival Michigan on the road in Ann Arbor by 30. So a lot of questions surrounding this team. They've got 3 really good players that they can depend on in the 3 most important aspects of the game. You've got Julia Eralt, who's a lights-out shooter from beyond the arc. You've got Grace Van Sluten, who is as consistent as it gets from the floor. And then you've got Theron Halleck, who is a very crafty passer. So they've got the assister, the 3-point shooter, and the big presence just on the floor that can make a good bucket when you need them to. And all those players average in double digits. So they've got who they need. They've just had some interesting results. And so I think for Michigan State, it's going to come down to those 3 players. Can they get it done? And then can they beat the teams they're supposed to going forward?
Another team I want to talk about that's been interesting in the Big Ten is the Illini. They haven't been great this year, but they've come up with some really good road wins. Is there a chance that the Illini can make a run in the Big Ten tournament?
I think there is. I think time will tell for the Illini. There's a chance it's going to be tough. They've lost a lot of home games to unranked Big Ten teams, which hurts especially their bid into the NCAA tournament if they can't make a good run in the Big Ten tournament. Their best ranked wins were against a now unranked Iowa team who could be ranked after that win against USC, and then a very beat-up Maryland team. So I still have questions surrounding the Illini. They're playing UCLA and USC at the end of the month, both in Los Angeles. So that is going to answer a lot of questions for me. I think if they want to get a bid and not have to depend on a good Big Ten tournament run, they have to beat one of those two teams. And I don't think it's going to be USC because they just lost to Iowa. So I think we're going to see kind of like an Ohio State situation in college football where USC lost not on the road, but they lost to a tough team like Ohio State did to Michigan at home. And I think that they're going to be pretty clean from here on out.
And unfortunately for the Illini, one of their league scorers, Micaiah Cook's out for the year, but others have been able to pick up some of the slack. Let's move from the court to the pool. We're now going to go through some scores in women's swim and dive. Here were the results from the past week. Number 6, Indiana, lost on the road to 10th-ranked Louisville, 170-130. 7th-ranked Michigan cruised at home over Miami of Ohio, 161-125. The 13th-ranked Buckeyes picked up a big road win against Pitt, 161.5-131.5. A battle in California as number 14 USC wins at home, 215-85 versus 22nd-ranked rival UCLA. Lastly, 24th-ranked Minnesota picks up 4 wins at home. They won over Purdue 135-70 and also 241-112. They then faced Northwestern twice. The Golden Gophers over the Wildcats 144-161 and 241-112. Let's now move on to a brand new sport. We're excited to bring you this, women's tennis. Currently, there are 4 Big Ten teams in the top 25. Here are some of the scores. Number 6, UCLA picked up a giant win over 18th-ranked Cal on the road, 4-2. A top 10 matchup in Charlottesville. 7th-ranked Michigan came up with a massive victory, 4-2 against number 5 Virginia. Other interesting scores around the Big Ten were Georgia Tech over Illinois, 4-3. Number 25 Baylor holds off Nebraska 5-2. Oregon had a chance against number 23 Texas Tech, but fell up just short, 4-3. The Terrapins barely lost on the road to Notre Dame, 4-3. And finally, Purdue won against Xavier, 4-3. And that's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Special thanks to our producer, Colin Dusek, for making this all possible. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at B1G_under10. And come back next week for our next episode of Big Ten Under 10.